Shalom everyone, we are studying today Parashat VaYigash, a very, very powerful and exciting parasha. And a little bit background before, in the previous parasha, Parashat Miketz, we just read last week, we have the famous story about Joseph coming out from jail after 12 years in jail, and overnight, from a slave in a dungeon in Egypt, he becomes the strongest person in the Middle East, running the most powerful superpower, Egypt, and he makes Egypt a huge superpower because you think about it, when Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob are traveling the land of Israel, Canaan, the Torah does not tell us about any Egyptian presence. As Joseph brings Egypt to such power, Egypt takes over Canaan and also going even north to Syria. And archaeology is telling us like every city had an Egyptian governor. However, when Joshua comes to the Holy Land, no presence of Egyptians anymore. So during the time of the slavery, the land of Canaan was under Egyptian control, and that was because of Joseph turning Egypt into a superpower. Now, in a previous parasha, Joseph is coming into power, and we see him kind of playing games like cat and mice with his brothers. And a lot of commentators are asking, it's a bigger question, how come Joseph did not send any message to his father that he is alive? You know, when he was a slave, we understand he could not. When he was when he was running Potiphar's business, we can't understand it because he had the access to the mail system, and merchants all over visiting Egypt. He could send it to Jacob. And then when the brothers come to him, how come he did not tell them immediately that he is Joseph? There are many issues about it, many commentaries trying to explain. The simplest, as I can understand, it goes with the same line of the Zohar. They were not ready for that till the instance of Parashat VaYigash. Because they were not ready, Joseph could not do it to them, take from them the opportunity to correct what they did when they sold him. We spoke about it, that we know that Joseph overcame this horrible trauma of his brothers selling him to slavery, which is by the Torah law in Parashat Mishpatim, it's death sentence. To take a free human being and sell him to slavery, the Torah sentence did like this to death. Why? Because the moment you sell somebody to slavery, it's like you killed him. He does not have any ability to reach his potential as the image of the Creator inside him. And that is horrible. Okay? Now, we know that Joseph overcomes that trauma. We spoke about it because we can see, according to his behavior by his master, that whatever he touches becomes gold, that his master sees whatever he touches, it's God making it successful. So Potiphar, his master, does not want to touch anything in his business because that's a waste of money. He's better giving everything, handing over all control of the business he has to Joseph. And later on, Pharaoh does the same thing. So we know that only a person that is totally free of traumas, fears, and anger, hatred, can do something like this. Because whoever is under the slavery of a trauma, hatred, fear, all of these cannot be that successful because you're not a master to your life. You're not a real creator because your life is being controlled by those fears or traumas. So we understand from that that the message for us that if we really want to be successful, either in business or in relationships, finding a happy marriage or whatever we do, we cannot allow past traumas and fears to take over because that restricts our powers of life and our light. Joseph is extremely successful in doing that. So he realizes his mistakes and he realizes how to become a real creator and how really to connect the upper world of bliss, of spiritual power, and to manifest in that inside the physical world. And by this, he walks in the footsteps of his forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And therefore, he becomes a chariot in the tree of life, like Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So that is the message of last week's parasha. Now, in this week's parasha, when we see the end of Parashat Miketz last week, where Joseph is basically pranking his brothers by playing the Egyptian cruel, senseless dictator, that he simply, because he can, because he has the power, he basically plays with them and like cat and mouse. And the result is they're really upset. However, something really important is happening to them. And that is what we see in this parasha. As we learn through Parashat Miketz, when they go through all of this suffering that Joseph is basically inflicting on them, threatening them, that he's going to take Benjamin, taking first Shimon to jail, all of that stuff, and they start to say to each other, this is because we did not listen to the cries of our brothers when we threw him into the pit. So they are going through a process. So we have to understand the brothers, not like Joseph, through all of these years, and we're talking about many years, okay? Through all of these years, they are not overcoming the trauma they caused Joseph. He did. They did not. They still carrying that fear. They still see Jacob suffering daily from that trauma of the loss of Joseph. And they're not out of it. So that's why Joseph does not reveal himself, not to Jacob, not to the brothers, because they are not doing it on their own. And this is a very important concept, because when we ask ourselves, how come God does not intervene when we go through horrible moments in our lives? How come God does not intervene and save us from all the troubles we're going through? It doesn't matter who we are, young and old, righteous and not righteous people, like all kinds. We are all God's children. Why there's so much evil in the world? And the answer is, they are in this world. The major rule is, you are, each one of us, you are a child of God. You are here in this world for one purpose, which is to realize that, and to realize that you have the powers to control your reality, because from God's point of view, everything is given to you. The question is, can you receive that blessing from God and overcome, replace that with all these traumas and complaints and worries and upset that basically inflict us like fleas. It's all over. You can't get it out, and it makes our life so small and upsetting. And it's not God's doing, it's ours. Till we make that real fight to get rid of our own demons, our own traumas, our own fears, our own small thinking, only then God can reveal himself to us in what we call the big miracles of transformation and life becoming a real better, improved sort of life that you can really see justice and enlightenment and health. It's all dependent on us. And we see that because the brothers did not reach that moment yet, Joseph cannot reveal himself to them. So we have two major important moments in this parasha. The first one is that the last parasha ends with a cliffhanger. The brothers are standing in front of Joseph. They think he is really abusing them. He's really cruel to them. He is the cruel dictator that has joy by basically abusing helpless people. They are foreigners. They are just simple people. They don't have a militia behind them. They're not representing any nation. They're not even his people. He can do with them whatever he wants. That's the old world. That's also in many places in our world. You can see that stuff. You see how people with power abuse people who are less powerful just because they can. And that's a human trait. What can we do? We are born with an evil inclination, and when we find ourselves in a position that we can step on people that have less power than we do, a lot of us cannot overcome the temptation. We do that, and we pay for it later on, but we do that. So here it is, the brothers. That's how Parashat Miketz, last parasha, ends. The brothers are standing there horrified. They were framed. They know they were framed. They can't just go and tell Joseph, you're a liar. He's the king of Egypt. He's, de facto, he is the king of Egypt. He has the power. He can kill them in an instant, and no one will survive. He has that ability. Okay? Now, and they know that all of this is happening not from Joseph, but from God. Why? Because what they did to Joseph. So they're totally into their own suffering, misery, in shame. Yes, all of this is happening because what we did to Joseph. Now, Joseph is telling them, you know what? You said that whoever stole my goblet, my silver goblet, will be dead, and that's it. And they, or the one who stole it will be dead, and the rest of us will become his slaves. No, it doesn't need to be like this. The one who stole the goblet, which means Joseph's servants framed Benjamin. They put the goblet in Benjamin's package. So what happened was that they're standing there horrified. If they're going to come back to Jacob, what are they going to say to him? They promise him to bring back, and especially Yehuda. Why Yehuda? Because Yehuda is the one that gave the advice to sell Joseph to the Midianites. Okay, he's the one. He's the one. We know he made a mistake, because immediately after that, in the original story, Yehuda goes through a terrible trauma in which he has 3 sons. 2 of them die. 1 stays alive finally, and he impregnates the wife of the first 2 brothers, not by mistake. What a shame. What it says, Vayered Yehuda me'et Echav, and Yehuda came down from the level of his brothers. He was really paying heavily for what he did to Joseph. Now, we're here, and Yehuda, he's the one that guaranteed the upper world and the lower world. He swore, promised to Jacob, give me Benjamin, I bring him back, and I'll give you my world to come and this world if I'm not bringing Benjamin back. I'm a guarantor for that. So here Yehuda is coming, and that by this Joseph brings Yehuda into the right place. And that's the magical moment, the moment of transformation, the moment that every one of us needs to experience in order to realize what this world is about, what this life is about. And the story is like this. We read in Genesis chapter 44, verse 18. VaYigash elav Yehuda. And Yehuda, like the simple explanation, Yehuda is approaching Joseph. But the word is VaYigash, and many commentators are saying, no, you need to directly translate this word. The real translation of this word is, and Yehuda collided with Joseph. What does it mean? And that's what he says. It says, Be Adoni. And many of the commentators are saying, it's in me, Master. It's in me. I know that all what we're going through is because of me. Because I gave the advice to sell Joseph. Look, Yehuda does not know that it's Joseph standing in front of him. And then Yehuda starts to speak. But the most important thing, it's not what he says. Remember, when we do the real transformation, and that's a very important rule. When we really want to change, the fact is not that it's not working if you think about what's the right words to say. Because if you read what he says, that's nonsense. Really nonsense. He's powerless. He's a foreigner. He's not an Egyptian. He has nothing behind him. He's one man from a family of 12 people. Okay, in the land of Canaan, which is third world country, coming to this king of first world country empire, and he gives them a story. You told us, you asked us, do we have a father? Is he still alive? You have a brother? Yes, we have a brother. It's like, what is this nonsense? And then he says, our father did not want. He tells him a whole story. Who cares to this story? It's like nonsense. Who listened to you? But what's important is that by the end of his speech, he says as follows. Ve'ata, I'm reading verse 33, chapter 45. Ve'ata yeshevna avdecha tachat anar, eved ladoni v'anar yali mechav. And he says, now I'm giving you an offer. I'm offering myself to be a slave to you. Let the boy go back to his father. He's not that strong. He's not that qualified. I'm more strong. I'm more qualified. I can give you more value. Take me instead of him. Just have some mercy for our father. Let them go. But the word is that when he approaches Joseph, the word VaYigash, many commentators are saying, let's give it the real meaning of the word. VaYigash in Hebrew has a meaning of collision, and Yehuda is colliding with Joseph. So some say it's a fight, some say it's almost a violent clash, but it's not. It's something more than that. More than that. The fact that here Yehuda, in order to correct what he did with Joseph, he's basically giving himself away as a slave. We said that a slave is like a dead person. The moment you're a slave, you're exempt of all the mitzvot. You're not a creator. You cannot complete your tikkun. Yehuda is ready basically to die in order to protect Benjamin. If he did that for Joseph, when the brothers wanted to kill him and later on to sell him, if he had that stamina, that sacrifice, that will to protect his brother, if he had it some 20-something years ago with Joseph, the whole story would look differently. However, he's doing it, finally he's doing it, which means it's never too late. And what happens the moment he's coming with that approach of basically giving himself away, like basically he's willing to die for Benjamin, for his brother, for Jacob. And the moment he's doing that, the great transformation is happening. And we can see it over here in that magical expression in chapter 45, verse 1. ולא יכול יוסף להתאפק לכל הניצבים עליו. And this is a very important verse. It says, and Joseph cannot hold himself anymore, and in front of all the people standing with him, and he simply sent away all the Egyptians, all his servants, so he will reveal himself to his brothers just when they are only them, they are present. Now, what's the message? Think about it. He is revealing himself to his brothers. He's saying, hello, hey, I'm your brother Joseph, that you sold me. Okay? And he says, and he cries. And verse 3, Vayomer Yosef elecha v'ani Yosef, and Joseph says to his brothers, I'm Joseph. How Davichai is my brother still, my father still alive? And verse 5, Ve'ata al te'asvu, don't be sad. Al yichar beinechem, don't be upset. Ki mechartem oti hena, don't be upset that you sold me. That I came over here because you sold me. Don't be upset about it. Because God sent me over to this place so we can survive, because the famine is going to last for 5 more years. And now you can come over and be saved. Otherwise, we all die in famine in Canaan. Like that few layers over here, like everything in Kabbalah. The first layer is very simple. Here you have the brothers, and especially Yehuda. They're just in face of life-threatening system. It's a situation that for Yehuda, it's over. If he becomes a slave, and Benjamin and the brothers are going back to Yaakov, for him it's over. He's a slave in Egypt. Horrible place. He's done. He's finished. Okay? If something else happens, and then if they fight, they could die. Okay? There's no way out. And here, not just that he does not need to become a slave, he does not need to see Benjamin becoming a slave, okay, and more mess in the family. Joseph is alive. He's not upset. He says everything that happened was really good, okay, was really good. More than that, Joseph is alive. He's married to Asenat, which is the lost daughter of Dinah. It's like you can't wish for what you revealed by that, by Yehuda giving himself away, like in total sacrifice for the benefit of his brother, his father, and the rest of the family. He gets in return more than he wished for. Hey, he's not going to become a slave. Benjamin is not going to become a slave. More than that, Joseph is alive, and they have food for everything, for everybody, and Asnat is alive. You can't even wish for more than that, because you want there. What's the message? many times, and that's a very important message for all of us. Now I'm going to explain it from the Kabbalistic point of view. Okay? We need to read a little bit from the Zohar in order to get that power that is being revealed over here. So much power. We'll start from the end. Verse 72 in the Zohar, פירוש הסולם. רבי יוסי פתח קרא באליהו, דכתיב ויקרא אל אדוני ויאמר אדוני לא היה גם על אלמנה שאני מתגורר עמה, הראותה להמית את בנה. תחזי, תראה עבודה כאמרין מילין הקובל קודשה ברכו. משה ואליהו. משה אמר למה הראותה לעם הזה? ואליהו אמר הראותה להמית את בנה ותרוויו מילה חדה כאמרו. The Zohar is quoting two verses of two great men, the greatest, Moses and Elijah the prophet. And the Zohar says, come and see, there were two of them that basically complained or accused God for doing wrong. Moses and Elijah, Moshe and Eliyahu. Moshe אמר, למה הראותה לעם הזה? Moshe Rabbeinu, Moses, after he comes to tell Pharaoh, let my people go, the result of his meeting with Pharaoh, that the slavery in Egypt that was awful, becomes even worse than that. So Moses is so much in shock with the pain that is being added to the Israelites. He's telling God, why did you bring so much evil to these people? Elijah, who got like support and protection from one widow. That's a story in Kings 1, chapter 17, very famous story. And Elijah goes to God. It's like, God, why did you hurt this widow? She did so much, and that's a reward that her son will die. So the Zohar speaks about two people, which means if they fell into that place, we all can fall in that place. The falling is not the problem. The problem is not to come out from this falling. What both of them said, both of them complained because they saw how darkness took over. And that alarmed them, upset them. How many of us look around in many, many cases in our lives or reading history, and we feel like complaining to God, God, why did you let that happen? Where were you? This is a normal question. You see, even Moses and Elijah were in that place. Okay? And we are talking about righteous people that are in such a high level, they're not supposed to be in such a doubt. Verse 75. And he's asking, and if you're going to say that evil does not come to a person from God, evil, the sages are saying evil cannot come from above. And the answer is, come and see. When a person takes the direction of the right, which means chesed, loving kindness, mitzvot, sharing, charity, stuff like this. שמירתו של הקדוש ברוך הוא נמצא לו תמיד. God's protection is always there for him. And the evil is being mastered, controlled, and subjugated, and cannot control you. However, when a person is sticking to the left side, which means selfishness, negativity, anger, fear, all of those emotions that are in balance, it's our choice. And when we choose to stick to that frequency, then the guardians of the Creator is not there. So it's a matter of a person's choice. It's not a choice of the Creator to protect somebody or not. The person is responsible for that. Which means when you feel not protected, don't complain to God, simply make the actions to go back to the right column, which means that the right side, the consciousness of loving positivity will override and control the left side. Hanukkah. We are just at the end of Hanukkah, and you have Parashat Miketz and VaYigash always coincide with Hanukkah. So what is Hanukkah? Hanukkah, if you learn the Kabbalistic meditations of Hanukkah, it's all about how the light overpowers the darkness, how the right overcomes the left. What does it mean? The right means loving kindness, which means our real, genuine trust in God's love. When that overcomes our selfishness, our fears, our pain, our alert, and our anger, when we feel we're mistreated or something like this, when we make that step like Yehuda, which means we overcome all the negativities that we harbor, a whole host of them, all of those negative left column emotions, imbalance, which means the fear and the hurt and the complaint, all of them could be justified, but they don't do the job. When we do the job, it doesn't matter what we say. So therefore, when we are stuck in a crisis, like Yehuda over here, don't even waste the time of thinking what to say. Invest all your time to take the right side over the left, to subjugate the left, which means not to allow all those emotions of anger and negativity to take over. Just bring in one powerful union of heaven and earth, trusting that it's all for the good. Therefore, if Yehuda symbolizes Sfirat Malchut, he becomes, in this case, in this parasha, he becomes the chariot of Malchut that later on his descendant, King David, takes over that job that Yehuda is taking right now. The chariot of Sefirat Malchut. When he collides, how can you collide with Joseph? Everyday life. Instead of allowing the weight of the feeling of unworthy, anger, upset, shame, guilt, take you down, bring you down and destroy you and get you deep into the darkness, when you, with total trust of the light, that the real controller of everything is the light of God, it is God's mercy, and you really rise from that place with a real certainty of connecting to God's light and God's love. This, and you bring in that into yourself, then you collide with Sfirat Yesod. When you collide with Sfirat Yesod, then Velo Yachol Yosef Litapek. And that's verse 62. When it says, the whole, if you read the whole, I don't have time to go into all the details, but the moment you really have certainty of connecting to God's love, with total, yes, I messed up, I'm a human being. I'm so guilty of so many things. I'm hosting so many terrible, not godlike emotions. So what? But I still feel that God's love to me is stronger than all my mistakes. When we make that connection to the upper world, we'll add conditional love from below to above. That is Malchut, Yehuda, colliding up with Joseph, Sfirat Yesod. What is Sfirat Yesod? This is the bottom of the tree of life, of all the bliss, all what is good. And when Malchut and Yesod, when Malchut collides into Yesod, what happens? Yesod cannot hold on anymore. Velo yachol Yosef litapek. Yehuda forces Sfirat Yesod to open up. Yehuda forces the tree of life to open up. Yehuda, by doing that, forces Joseph, the physical Joseph, to reveal himself to his brothers, and the game is over. What do you get? You get more than what you bargained for. Therefore, don't ever try to tell God what is that you want. What you have to do is, in this case, you have to try to do your best to collide with Joseph, to connect. Like, doesn't matter how much fear, pain, anguish, blame, guilt you're carrying. That's what you have to overcome. This is the message of what is called opportunity. When we do that, we basically release ourselves from our true slavery to all of those thoughts and emotions that basically mess up our lives. It's not God who messes up our lives. God is the one, like Joseph, who brings us to that place, to these places in which he's bringing us to say, okay, make that move. Don't think about what's the move. Don't think about what do you need. Just think about one thing. Connecting the light and the vessel, the heaven and the earth. God's love with your life, with no limitations. What will be the result? It will be beyond what you wish for. This is the story of our lives. If you bargain about, you're just playing with little nothing, when you can really bargain, get everything. And what does mean everything? You don't even know what's waiting for you. Did Yehuda think he can solve the whole problem from the source? From the time that even Yaakov was in Shechem and the rape of Dinah? He's solving so many family issues that all of them come into place in one moment, beyond what he could even imagine in his wildest dreams. Because, as we know, Einstein used to say, the logic that got you into the problem will never get you out of it. Don't use logic. What I'm saying is, so many times, every airplane has two means of transportation: wheels and wings. If the airplane will try to get from one airport to another using only the wheels, that will be a disaster. The wheels are our logic. The wings, it's our faith. When we use our wheels, it always will end with a big disaster. We always get ourselves deep into deeper troubles. But when we use our faith, and what is faith? Emunah. And what is emunah? It's coming from amen, which is one of the major meditations of Hanukkah. It's a Youdkevitch, the tetragrammaton, that symbolizes the upper mercy and unconditional love of the Creator to all his creatures, and Aleph Dalet Nun Yud, which symbolizes all the judgments that is coming from our need to receive, our need to be in the left side, because we were created for that place. But when we collide with that faith that it's all good, like Joseph telling the brothers, don't be upset. You thought it was a terrible thing that you sold me as a slave. Look what happened. It saved ourselves, our family, from famine. They will be in sure death if that one happened. Now I'm here. I control all the food of Egypt. Come over and we will survive together. What a great thing that happened. I have no complaint. He has nothing, not even a little tiny bit measurement of bitterness or anger. Why? How could he reach such a position if he stayed with his father? He looks at all what he went through and is thankful to God that got him through all of those terrible moments, that thanks to them, he became the Joseph that changed history forever. This is the place that we all want to be. This is the place the sages are saying when a person reaches the completion of his tikkun, when humanity reaches the completion of our tikkun, we look backwards and we realize whatever happened had to happen. There was a good reason. Without what happened, we won't be in such a great place of reaching the completion of our tikkun. When we take that approach, everything is possible. More than everything is possible. It's beyond, because the will of the Creator to share with us is so much bigger. What we need is just to do what Yehuda did, to collide with the upper world. This is what Hanukkah is about. It's all about that trust, connecting to the light, connecting to that merging ourselves, our physical life with spirituality, with no compromises. Just pure positivity and spirituality. When we reach that place, we reach that collision, everything opens up, and what we get is beyond our wishes. The second important moment in this parasha is when the brothers go back to the land of Canaan. That's chapter 45, Genesis chapter 45, verse 25. Vaya'alu miMitzrayim, they come up from Egypt to Canaan to come to their father, Jacob, and they tell him, Od Yosef Chai, Joseph is still alive. And not just he's alive, he is the ruler of the whole land of Egypt. Then he says that his heart skipped a beat. Couldn't believe them. And then verse 27, they told him all the messages that Joseph sent to Jacob, and Joseph sent some secret messages to Jacob, so Jacob knew it's really Joseph. Vatechi, that's verse 27, Vatechi ruach Yaakov aviem. And the spirit of Jacob came back into life. For all of these years, Jacob was in sorrow, sad. He didn't have the Holy Spirit in that moment, in those days, so he could not see that Joseph is alive. And then we see in verse 28, Vayomer Israel, and Israel said, before he heard the message, he was Jacob, which is the lower level. The moment he realized that Joseph is alive and the whole project did not get hurt, that everybody's safe, everybody's okay, he's now back to be Israel. The sages are saying, why did Joseph have to go through it? And he said Joseph had to go through it because exactly the time that Jacob did not know if Joseph is alive, this is the time that Jacob went away, and his parents, Rivka and Yitzchak, did not know if he's alive or where is he. He didn't go directly to Lavan. He did some studies. He spent some long time, and his parents didn't know where he is. And the sorrow he inflicted on his parents, he had to pay for it. So everybody's debts and negativities and shame was basically transformed into good fortune, good faith, love, and happiness, everything. And that's an amazing parasha of transformation. And that is for us. The light of the Creator is endless. His love to each one of his creatures is endless, unconditional, never changing. It's us that we need to make the change. We need to collide with God's love, with God's sharing, overcome all the negativities, and then we create the great miracles that justify all the sorrow, the pain that we go through. Shavua Tov, and Chanukah Sameach, Chodesh Tov, and good luck to all of us.